Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League and the Champions League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics from a little midweek Premier League action. Arsenal finally end their winless run against the continually disappointing Chelsea. Man City respond the next day with a 3-0 victory over West Ham, and Erling Haaland becomes a record goal scorer in a Premier League season with his 35th of this season, plus another important victory for Liverpool over Fulham. Luke Shaw's stoppage time penalty gives Brighton a late win over Manchester United, and welcome back to the Premier League, Sam Allardyce. Can he keep Leeds up? That's what we've got coming up in today's episode.
Right, Mustoe, before we get to the midweek action, don't forget the Premier League is coming to the US and coming soon this summer. For the first ever pre-season tournament, Aston Villa, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Fulham and Newcastle will play in Atlanta, Harrison, New York, Orlando, Philadelphia and Maryland. The action kicks off July the 22nd. Tickets now on sale, so head over to www.premierleague.com/summer series for ticket information, all the information about the games, and we'll be there as the NBC team going through those matches and meeting up with some of the players and coaches. So great opportunity to get close to the Premier League. If you're on the East Coast, make sure you get to one of those games. Click on the link and get the ticket information. Okay, my friend, let's start our football information at the Emirates. Let's start the Emirates. That was the first game of the midweek, Tuesday night. Yep. Arsenal facing Chelsea in a big London derby. We know that actually both these teams didn't come in great form. Arsenal winless, I think it was in 3 or 4 before this game. Chelsea, as we know under Frank Lampard, things haven't gone as would like. Did we expect a more competitive, a closer game, Rob, or did we kind of would Chelsea fans have feared this might have happened?
They probably would have feared it, Rob. Even so, we have had to have expected a closer game than that, a more competitive game than that, given the fact that Arsenal have wobbled a little bit recently. Yeah. Defensively, they haven't been strong. They made some changes. You know, I think with this season's Arsenal, they've been so good. It isn't a bad time to play them right now, given what they've been through. But you know, maybe we'll definitely get onto Chelsea, Rob. But it wasn't that way. And Arsenal were somewhat back to their best with their football. Yeah. I know we both felt it was important. Is the belief still there? Is the confidence still there? I know I felt strongly that they've got to get back to winning ways. They can't let this season peter out in a real disappointment. It's got to be remembered as a blip. They couldn't produce the stuff when they really needed it, but we know that they got back on form, Rob, and started winning games and started playing some great football. So from that side of it, it worked. From the substitutes and the changes that Mikel Arteta made, it worked. And Martin Odegaard worked. And it was a comfortable day with the opponents, Chelsea, and just what Arsenal needed.
Yeah, I think before the game we were both in studio, weren't we? And you know, I said, you know, with 5 games for Arsenal left, they were on 75 points before this match. They've got to win out, Rob. Win out. I know Newcastle away is a tough one, but win out, get the 15 points, get to 90 points. I think that was the same number they had when the Invincible season. But push City as hard as they can, because my sort of comparison was Liverpool, and Liverpool probably in other eras would have won more than the one Premier League title, but it was just the relentless way that City either clawed them back or stayed on top. But I don't think there was too many regrets in Liverpool's attempts, Rob, because I thought Liverpool give it everything. I think they wrung every last bit of sweat out, every last press they could. And guess what? The other team were better. Somehow they got goals. Somehow they found ways. And I just want this Arsenal team at the end of the season, regardless of what happens, and it certainly looks more like it's in City's favour now than Arsenal's. But I want them to get to those 90 points and go, you know what, we had that blip, but we came again and we pushed them again, and we kept seeing what could happen. And listen, it's a Premier League, and you just never know. And I just feel for themselves and for maybe starting next season, Rob, and feeling like we've taken a step forward. 5 straight wins at the end of this season would put them in a really good place to say, okay, now we've learned from some things. We maybe got some better players, depth in our squad, and we go again.
Just some of the changes, Rob, just cutting to the chase on some of the new guys at Charlton, particularly Jakub Kiwior. Now, we know that he came in, Polish defender, 23 years of age. We know he came in January for a decent fee. He's played in different competitions. We haven't seen him too much in an Arsenal shirt in terms of the Premier League. Got his first start, I think, in the Premier League for them. A couple of questions, Rob. I guess the first question is, why is it taken this amount of time for Mikel Arteta to try him, to trust him? I get the Rob Holding thing at the start. When Saliba was first injured, you go with the experience of Rob Holding. And second question, Rob, is how good is he? And is he now going to stay on the side as you take your drink?
Yeah, as I take a swig before I go. Well, I'm assuming and Mikel Arteta has. I mean, he's played a couple of Europa League games. I think he's been involved, Rob. He's looked okay. I just wonder if, in the intensity of the Premier League race and the demands and the spotlight that's on, would it have been a little bit unfair if he'd come in this team where form has just dipped a little bit? Obviously, Saliba was a miss and things didn't go well. Would that made it difficult for him down the road?
Yeah, well, also, Rob, when there was no wiggle room for Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly.
Risk that I guess Arteta probably.
I'm wondering, you can lose, you can break a young player, an inexperienced player at that time. It's so much better if things were flying, Rob, and they were going really well, and Saliba's out for the and you go on, in you go. He's confident. Gabriel's playing well. The back four's in shape. We know what we're doing. We're still controlling games. We're not getting hurt too much on transitions. It wasn't that time, and so I sensed there was a bit of maybe not knowing and not trusting, and that sometimes you don't know that till you put people in and find out, which, some can argue Arteta might have done. But I kind of get it, Rob, that at this stage, at that point in the season, it might have been a tough one where you don't want to lose, you want him to come and make steps and the next time he's be a bit more confident till eventually he's pushing for first team place.
I suppose when you think of Arsenal now for this title challenge, that's step one done. Step two is Saturday, the hardest step in terms of them winning the rest of the season. Away at Newcastle. After that, though, Rob, it's Brighton. We're going to talk Brighton. Forest and Wolves, and the Brighton game is at home. It's at the Emirates, so they're kind of winnable games. So I feel like, and I'm in the studio again this weekend, that this is such a big game for Arsenal. If they go there and they don't match the physicality, they don't meet fire with fire. They potentially, and we both do the same things, Rob. You're going through the thoughts and your notes going into the weekend. And my kind of a strong thought is that Newcastle could outpower them with their intensity, with the atmosphere at St James's Park, with the physicality they've got in different areas. I feel that will be Arsenal's biggest test, is to try and stand up to Newcastle's power, pace, and power.
Could I argue then? Could I chuck in to raise you? Could Arsenal out-football them? If Arsenal get in their groove, and we saw a little bit of it at Chelsea, and there was sense of, front players looking sharp and threat. Could they out-football them, Rob, with the control?
Well, my notes are here, and I think I've got that their football's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
Their football's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
And even if this gets as perfect as they can make it, Newcastle still will be ready for it. I think it's a really difficult game. Anyway, we don't want to preview too much of that one going forward, but that's a massive game. We should swing it across, Rob, if you're ready, in Chelsea. And the disappointment, Frank Lampard now, what is that, 7 out of 7 losses, 6 out of 6 losses, 6 out of 6 losses. All our listeners and viewers know what's gone on at Chelsea, Todd Bowley and the ownership and the money spent, and all these players coming in and having to make the dressing room bigger because there's 30 players who couldn't fit in there. Different sessions going on at the same time because there's so many players to try and coach. Trust in the youth players, the money spent on young players, the future of the club. They're trying to build something great. I mean, dear me, without kind of going on about it too much, Rob, how disappointing. Is this? We get to a point now. Is it unacceptable?
I think we are 12th in the league, Rob. 30 goals, 39 points, the same as Bournemouth. 6th ranked team in London. Okay, Spurs and Arsenal, you might expect. Brentford, Palace, and Fulham. I mean, unacceptable, mate. And I want to go into a bit of detail on a couple of things, couple of players, but I want to go big picture again. And we talked about, the Frank situation and him coming in. Does Frank's caretaker role? I kind of felt for Frank at half-time of the game when he's trying to at least just put up a little bit of an argument for what's happening and why it isn't happening, Rob. But I almost feel like his position is a position of weakness. He's not in a position of strength. The results are going. Players don't care. Obviously, players don't care, Rob. Players have no fear. Players don't want to make long runs. The amount of 3 or 4 yard passes to pass to someone, to pass it back, to pass to someone. Nobody wants to run. Nobody wants to hurt themselves. No one wants to dig deep and put in a performance, Rob. It almost makes his position untenable, kind of a bit of a figure of fun. I think these players probably in that dressing room going, who's this guy in charge? And I go back to my point about Pochettino, and I know about the record, but by the time Poch comes into this football club, Rob, it could be absolutely on the floor. It could go from bad to worse. We've got another 5-6 weeks of this before we get to the end of the season.
No, I mean, I think that's a strong argument now, Rob. Looking at it, and by the way, you just said, who is this? They should know. They do know who Frank Lampard is, Rob. But I think as a manager, the respect's not there. And listen, this goes against everything, every cell in my body, right? What I'm going to say here. But a player's just sat there, Rob, and like, well, what's the point? We're mid-table. We ain't going down.
No accountability, Rob.
There's no accountability. So going back to your point, Rob, in terms of bringing Pochettino, if he is going to be the man, Pochettino, trying to persuade him, by the way, to get cracking straight away.
Can I go another route if he's not coming in? Just name him, by the way. Just name him, just to say, this is the guy. So all of a sudden, Pulisic and Ziyech and the guys who at the moment probably couldn't give a damn. And at least they might think, hold on, he's watching now. He's going to be the new guy. At the moment, Rob, it's like, it feels like, wow. It's as bad as I've ever known at Chelsea Football Club in the Premier League era. As bad as I've ever known.
We can go back, Rob, and obviously Graham Potter remaining in charge would have been better than this.
Would have been better. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna I think when the change came, it was like, wow, I kind of get the change. Like Potter's going nowhere, the football's going nowhere. And I'm not going to be clever. I know they're worse now. So it was another mistake by Todd Bowley in making the change to have this kind of floating like period of nothingness for those players waiting for the next guy to come in, which they think there's going to be for the summer. So I think, we can hammer every player, right? And I don't like, or we can realize that when this season's over and when the next manager comes in, they will look a lot different. They will be better. Their attitudes will be better. They will be working harder. They will be motivated and organized when the next coach comes in, if it is going to be Pochettino. It's just, this is such a, for Chelsea fans, Rob, I tell you, not just Chelsea fans, but fans of the Premier League in general,
football fans,
watch these incredibly expensive and very well-paid players to go through the motions. I got to say, reluctantly, it's terrible look for the sport.
Yeah, really. the profession.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't want to pick on players, and this is where I was feeling. I felt for Frank, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, my friend. And it's not to pick on him individually, because there's plenty. There's Sterling. There's Kante.
There's a low. Rob. I don't even know.
But the Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang one's interesting, Rob, because before the game, I see he picks him, and Frank had talked a little bit about playing against your former team and all that stuff, and I kind of thought, kind of see where he's going here. Like, there might be a motivation. It might be a day where he wants to score and knee slide and do his bit and get his anger going. Nothing could have been further from the truth. I think 9 touches, it's been reported, and 4 of those from kickoffs, and just he never made runs, Rob. He never looked to secure the ball. He never looked interested. Now at this point, those players for Frank should be able to go to Todd Bowley and go, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has no future at the club, has no future with anything. Either keep him away, put him with the kids, make him train every day somewhere else, but he's not part of the first team picture. Because while he is, he brings everything else down, Rob. Because what happens is, if I'm a midfield player and I got him up front and he ain't trying to leg and he's not running, it starts to demotivate me, and then that becomes a knock-on effect. So there's got to be a point where you can grab a little bit of authority back in the group and at least get a little bit of their attention, Rob.
No, I know, and I think it's. I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree. But there's so many others you could say the same for. He didn't get a kick because his team didn't get a kick. The team didn't put 3 passes together. But no, of course, it's an important point. He didn't make a lot of runs. I remember a couple of times the touch was off. It was just a shocker. It was a shocker for Chelsea. And, you know, have I got the next games here? I mean, I'm thinking about rock bottom for the club. I mean, it's just rock bottom. They got Bournemouth away, could get beat there. They got Forest at home. I mean, could Forest beat them at home? I mean, Brighton beat them at home.
Bournemouth, aren't they? Yeah, we can. I mean, they're the team you right now you'd want to play in the league. You said about Arsenal. They're the team right now you'd want to play in the league. Yeah.
All right, mate. Let's
move on to brighter things.
Yeah.
Manchester City. The next day. So Arsenal go top of the league with courtesy of the win against a Chelsea team that certainly for 45 minutes didn't turn up. City, Rob, had not all their own way against a West Ham team that were short of Souček, Rice and Aguirre were ill. Zuma had got a knock against Palace, wasn't fit. So it was a somewhat depleted West Ham team that went 3 at the back, 4 across the midfield and 3 narrow front players. But for 45 minutes, West Ham were well set up, good structure, good organisation, distance was good, tactically letting City have it on the outside. And in the main, Rob, didn't have too many difficult moments. I think the Rodri shot, they hit the ball. Haaland had a sort of half effort from a header. But we're sitting in the game at half-time going, this could be interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think that is probably the best way, you know, with short preparation time to play City is to say, you know, let's stop them picking away through the middle. Let's push it wide. It was Walker on one side. I mean, Grealish had tons of the ball and was good with it, to be fair. But pick your poison, innit? But that was kind of interesting for us when it in the studio. Like, well, we kind of like that, and that's working all right. But you did sort of sense there's a matter of time before, even in the wider areas, they're going to do something. You know, it did come from a set piece that was disappointing from West Ham's point of view. Yeah. You know,
silly foul. In fact, Rob, before the goal, we did a breakdown on our tactics, didn't we? If anyone wants to look at just the small detail that sometimes puts you off. But I got to go back to Floyd Downs, who I thought played particularly well in the first half. He's a great young kid, but he'll learn a lesson. Jack Grealish is running, 25 yards towards goal. They got good numbers behind him, and he goes to make a sliding challenge, which Jack's brilliant at reading, taking the foul, getting the free kick, and all of a sudden from there, Rob, we had the detail of Ogbonna being a little bit deeper, Ake coming in the far post, and all of a sudden the game's changed on those moments.
Yeah, it was. And as soon as that first goal goes in, then it's going to be difficult for West Ham. They are going to try and have a little bit of a go at a certain point. Erling Haaland gets the record-breaking goal, Rob, which is such a signature type of goal for him, the way that the ball turns over in midfield. Jack Grealish, who said afterwards that he thought before he wanted to be the guy to assist the record-breaking goal, which he did with a lovely little diagonal right into his path there. And I enjoy the things that I enjoy about watching Erling Haaland, Rob, is when he takes off, he takes off like a flipping 200-meter sprinter with and he's all action. I'm like, God, that's what makes him different for me, and people can try to compare him with Alan Shearer and Andy Cole, who's just gone by now in terms of a Premier League goal scoring season. They were brilliant strikers in their own way, but he is different. He is unique, and that power and that speed, and yet the composure and the touch and the finesse to finish it. I thought that was a really nice goal to break the record.
Did you think it was a bit of a different? I've watched it a few times, Rob, and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I can't think too many times where he's done that dinky over the goalkeeper. Actually, there's not that many, and he's 35. He's a slider and he's a power guy and he's the header. Yeah. But I'm not sure many times he can set it and then clip the goalkeeper. I just thought it was another show of the variety and the options and the difference that he brings. Like you say, brilliant runs, he's got great players playing him in, but just the different variety of goals and the execution, Rob, which The other thing that I wrote down with Haaland is, like you say, I don't think there's any comparisons. There's no individual who say, oh, he's a bit like, and you might say he's a bit like 2 or 3 or 4, but I think we're starting to get down there. He's unique. The other two things, Rob, are those finishes of a little bit somebody more mature, 24, 25, when you've missed a few, when you've done a few, he's doing this at 22 years of age.
22, I know.
22 years of age, where you think, in football terms, you always think there's 2 or 3 more years of development to come. 25, 26, they sort of say is you're starting to peak.
Well, remember Arsene Wenger, Rob, used to say that you don't really know what you've got until the player's 23.
Yeah.
Physically, obviously, experience and mentality can shift. But in terms of technicality, speed and ability and touch and decision making and all that kind of stuff, 23. So there's more to come. There's more to come in his like his tools, his toolbox. It's going to maybe grow even more. And the final thing on it, Rob, before we move on, and you were more of a goal scorer than I was, of course. But I thought it was interesting when he said, as I'm going through, he noticed the ball's hopping a little bit, right in the last split second, and that decided the way that he was going to clip the ball and chip it. Yeah, because the ball was. I just thought, wow, he's running through it flat out, and he's still the game slows down that much. It goes slow motion where he sees the ball just raise up a little bit and changes how he's going to finish it. Well, I just thought that was wow.
and that's a brilliant insight. And listen, I was more of an instinctive headers. Things would drop and get my goals. What he does and what the very best do, and Shearer's up there and Henry and all those qualities and Fowlers and that, is that I always explain it to Rob as like every goal is like a mathematical equation that you got to work out. Where have you got to be? What's the touch? How's the finish? Have you got the composure? Sometimes have you got the feel? Is it hard finish? Is it softage? And those are things that go on in your head. And often when you're not scoring goals, Rob, you have a period of like 6-7 where you're not getting goals. You're not working out the sum quick enough. You don't make up your mind quick enough what you've got to do. And you sometimes dither and the opportunity goes, or you take a touch and somebody smothers.
You come to the wrong answer. Your calculation
it's like a calculation, and it's done in a nanosecond. And where people like him are is, and I said it on the show, they're like Einstein. The equation comes and he goes, at pace, I've got to slow down, I've got to hit it over the goalkeeper, and I'm going to use my left foot. And all that happens in a split second. In a split second, all that happens in his head. And that's what he does it. Because I always say, Robert, it's a point that when I started coaching, I used to say, sometimes it's not that you miss, it's how you miss. If you make all those right choices and you just don't get the right contact, that's not a bad thing, by the way. Let's work on your technique, you'll get there. But if you're making those bad decisions in your head, that's when you need sorting out. And he's at the top of the tree. Absolute genius in terms of that understanding. We've talked about him pulling off on the far post, knowing where to be. His one-touch finishes in the box. All that is pre-thinking ahead what might happen. What if? Well,
what if he scores more goals, Rob? And I guess like we're going to run out of
We've got 5 more in 5 more games. What's your over and under?
Oh, it's got to be 40, isn't it? It's got to be 40.
You think you get 5? He'll get more than 5, mate. If he gets on a run, he might get 5 on Saturday against Leeds. I know Big Sam's had his words, and we'll talk about it. I've got to think he'll be looking for 7 or 8 more goals, mate, in 5 games. If he plays 5 games, he's looking for 7 or 8 more goals in that team.
So the last record to break will be Dixie Dean, 60 goals in a top flight season. Back in 1927,
he's 51 now, isn't he? 51.
Well, no, this is league. This is the league. It's 63 all comps. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how many games they're playing, Rob. There might have been 35 teams, and I don't even know how many games they play.
Yeah.
But I mean, but
1927, 28, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's almost 100 years, mate. We're almost at 100 years. Anyway, well done, Erling Haaland.
Just before we move on, mate, as well, it's a well done. I just want to give a well done to Manchester City. 1,000 goals. Robbie Mustoe under Pep Guardiola 2016. I mean, it's an incredible number. And I just got some data and fact for you. At least 6 goals or more on 20 occasions. At least 5 goals or more on plus 50 occasions. And at least 4 goals or more on 100 occasions, mate.
Very good data.
Incredible. And apparently started with Sergio Aguero 2016. 1,000th with Erling Haaland.
Yeah. It's It's remarkable. Both the goals scored and the points gained with Pep at this club has been,
I think it's every season he's been in the Premier League, he's been top Premier League goal scorer. Goal scorers.
Yeah, they gave him up to 90-something points again. Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable. Okay, next game we're going to talk about, Robbie, Earle, is Liverpool. Liverpool played Fulham.
Yeah.
1-0 was the score. It was a penalty from Mo Salah in the 39th minute.
Yeah.
There were some changes made. I think we saw that in most games, Rob, midweek games. With so many teams were changing the side a little bit. I mean, now Jurgen Klopp's got really nice options in terms of attacking players. Jota was rested. Diaz continued on the left-hand side. Nunez started up front and earned, I guess, the penalty. It wasn't a ton of contact, but enough contact. It's a Diop, wasn't it, on the for the penalty?
Made a foul,
yeah, and Mo Salah does what he does quite a lot. He's put it right down the middle with pace.
Yeah,
they're going along very nicely, Rob. Liverpool, with the changes they've made, with Trent's moving to midfield, which some people sort of ask me questions on social media and stuff like, why didn't they do it earlier? Why is it taking
man of the match again here at Trent by all accounts?
Well, he's got 6 assists in 5. You're getting the best out of him. And you're focusing the team or other players in the team to defend right back as well. So it's not just him. In this case, it's Ibrahim Konate if he plays. You're basically, when we're in possession and for transition, you've got to worry about the right side. And that wasn't the case before because that's Trent's side, even when he got forward. So I think it's interesting. I'm not saying that they're anywhere near where they want to be for Jurgen Klopp yet. This wasn't a great performance from Liverpool. The bits I scored again. I think it's the time when games going on at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard
on Wednesday. But no, they're finding their feet, Rob, and finishing strong. It's exactly what the manager wants after himself getting into some hot water with his behaviour.
We
will.
Interesting, mate. So a couple of things I want. First of all, I want to give a tip of the hat to Marco Silva, my friend, who before the game sit 10th in the league.
Yeah.
William was back. He'd had a hamstring injury and got pulled out of the warm-up game before, but came back into the team. There's no Tim Ream. There's no Pereira. They're both out for the season. There's no Mitrovic, obviously, with his ban. Yeah, Rob, this team was still competitive. Lukic came into midfield. He's got Vinicius up top, Wilson on one side, and I think it's De Cordova-Reid on the other. They still gave Liverpool problems on that 1-0. I think Alisson had to come out with a couple of good saves. He makes a great one from Vinicius late on when he comes out and he does that big hand and that. And there's a little bit more depth and there's a little bit more quality to Fulham than maybe we give credit. And I think it's always, Fulham teams like, their best 11 maybe can hold their own, but outside of that. But with those kind of injuries and key players and important players, he just deserves a bit of credit, Marco Silva. Then there's absolutely no problem in relegation all season. Got themselves in a great place. And I remember the first game of the season, Rob, because this was reverse fixtures, wasn't it, this week for games, when Fulham drew 2-2 with Liverpool. And Liverpool were a little bit lucky. Fulham played really well that day in the first game of the season. And, I thought, that's a bit different for Fulham. They look really competitive. And to be fair to them, they've continued that through the season. Had a little spell after the World Cup there. Maybe not won so many games, but they're in a good spot, Rob. And I just thought he deserves a little bit of credit, Marco Silva. There's times when if they lost Mitrovic, that would be the end of their hopes, maybe under Scotty Parker and people like that. But Marco Silva's toiled along and got on with these players and done particularly well. My second point, mate, just on this one, and it was more just a general chat and a conversation that had come up. So I did a little bit of research, Darwin Nunez, who won the penalty. And I think you told me the line, but the line that Klopp had come out with, if you want to play in his line, is about you've got to be good at the counter press, which was a great example of Nunez rushing down on Diop. And then it was thrown back. So there was a couple of reports thrown back to the weekend, and it passed me a little bit, and I don't know if you saw it, but when Nunez came on as a sub, Klopp had sort of got him ready at the side, and Thiago came down and was sort of giving him a bit of a G-up. And at one point, apparently, I saw the clip. Klopp looks at Thiago as if saying, "What you doing?" And looks at Nunez. Nunez went on, didn't have that much influence on the game. And there's a bit of talk as though he might have fell out a little bit of love with Klopp. And, they talk about Klopp said he needs to learn English. He needs to learn English. Because he said,
the language.
I can't have translators. I can't have 4 or 5 translators on the pitch telling learning what to do. And it just made me think a little bit about this young guy who's come into English football, Rob. Good reputation. I think we've all seen him in the Champions League and what he could do. He got a foolish sending off early in his career, didn't he? Against Palace, against Anderson, got caught with his head. Missed 3 games, lost a bit of form maybe. I think his nickname's Captain Chaos because of the speed and the intensity where he plays. I just think Liverpool, to me, working from the outside, have got a really good asset there. And sometimes maybe it might need a little bit of just getting him on side and bringing him into the club and understanding what's required at a club like Liverpool. I'm not sure if the hard shoulders are always away. He's got 9 Premier League goals, and I think at his best, he's in Liverpool's best front 3.
Okay, I agree with that, but I'll follow on that story, Rob, because I read a piece, was it today or yesterday? It might have been this morning, sort of saying that, it probably was yesterday morning actually, that if he doesn't seem a good fit,
I read the same piece. Yeah, that's
because you
my
could,
thoughts off a little bit. And I thought, really?
Yeah, and I thought really as well. But when you know the financial situation of the football club and the manager needing to spend money in different areas, we know they're doing really well in the front areas of the side. Now, I wouldn't want to see that because I think he could go on runs and score tons of goals.
Yeah.
Really like him, but I get the sense that Jurgen Klopp really likes Cody Gakpo, Rob. I think he really likes him. Because
they're very different.
They're very, very different. But he's a consistent, he's a reliable type of player. Can play wide, can play through the middle. I like the bit of chaos that Nunez brings, Rob. I love his pace. He always gets chances. He's one of those players that plays, something happens, and I like that sort of player. That he's going to get chances. He's going to blow him. He's going to hit him off his shin. He's going to miss a few, but he gets into situations a lot. So I hope, as this piece suggested, I hope we get to see that because I want to see more of him. More of him. That's one area of the field that Liverpool can say, okay, Summer, we're good. We're really, really good at there. It's the midfield area.
Correct.
And a player which we'll get onto the next game that will be perfect for Liverpool. But no, well done, Liverpool. Well done, Jurgen Klopp, finding a way to try and get it. But there's still a ways off being groomed.
Yeah, there's work to be done in this new system.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, my friend, let's take it to the Amex. FA Cup semi-finalists, Manchester United getting it over Brighton in penalties on that one. Brighton winning this one on penalties. McAllister late on after Luke Shaw ball hits his hand and penalty was given. I thought it was an interesting game. I thought 0-0. It was a really interesting game. Brighton confident, possession, build-up play, Rob, like understanding. It's an incredible level considering this is a new manager who's just gone in and taken it to a completely new level to Potter. I thought there was good signs at times for United. I thought they struggled to get the danger men in positions where they could get them hurting the opposition. So a little bit of Anthony, didn't see loads of Rashford and Martial at the top end of the pitch. But Brighton get the points, and it was almost like a feel good for football day for Brighton, really. Just how they go about their business, Rob. And like we saw West Ham yesterday at City, and they sit back and it's 5, and it's it takes a lot of hard work and organisation to do that. But Brighton are prepared to do it in a very, very different way.
I couldn't love it anymore, mate. I couldn't love it anymore. And I could literally speak now for 10, 15, 20 minutes on how I enjoyed that game. Just sat on my couch downstairs. I got my notes up. I'm making notes as I'm going along. I just the way that they play from the centre backs that are side by side, but they're narrow and they're happy to stand on the ball and go to you, to me, back to you. Oh, something's coming up. Oh, into midfield, back to you. They control the game with the centre backs. Both of them very, very comfortable on the ball. Yeah. And I'm not going to bore everybody with the technicalities of it, but the movements and the positions of fullbacks is so like, who cares? We're all in. Yeah. We're all in on being able to keep the ball. To keep the ball, you've got to have people in different spots, in different angles, in different depths. They do all that, so they've got the options to play through. To see Brighton, and by the way, it's important to say that Man United, Rob, they had some really great chances to score. There's a vulnerability about Brighton as well. When things don't quite connect,
which still is,
they're going to give up, and that's what they've signed up for, and they're okay with. United should have scored twice in the first half. Brighton should have scored at least once in the first half as well. So United, I thought, edged the chances. But it's just the football. And the second half, when Brighton can step it up even more.
Yeah.
And like Man United there's seemingly no way that they can control the game and keep the ball against a team that's so grooved in doing it, that's had signed players that are so comfortable on the ball, and a manager come in that's perfect for these players. We've said it a million times about Brighton, Rob, and it's just so well connected, the club. And this was a performance of like, I just felt, you know what, if I lived in England right now, I'm driving to Brighton.
Yeah, to go and watch the games.
I want to watch them play. I'd sit there. I tweeted out like, the fans, what a lucky bunch of fans they are, Rob, at Brighton right now. Look, they've seen these young, talented players coming through, World Cup winners in midfield, and they. I'm not saying.
Well, they thought they had it good with Potter, mate.
They thought they did have it.
It's good. It's good beyond that. Gone with this guy.
Yeah, and the football now with the penetration and the goals, they're similar to Potter, but they're very different, mate, aren't they? They are very different. Very different.
Absolutely.
And it's all down to Roberto De Zerbi, and maybe his fiery nature, Rob, is going to put some of the bigger boys off for now.
I'm not sure about that, by the way. I'm not sure about that.
Well,
I don't think he puts people off Conte. I think he puts people off Jose.
I think fiery, new to league. Oh, Potter did it at Brighton as well. I think, by the way, I couldn't be further away from that. If I'm director of football at Spurs, I'm like, let's get him.
I think the evidence of what we see, Rob, the evidence of the numbers, the data and fact is your big phrase. When you look at all those things, and all the big clubs now, all the directors of football are looking at those things as part of recruitment, he's going to be on a few lists, my friend. And I'm sorry for Brighton fans who had Potter, saw him go, seen De Zerbi now, gone on to better things. But he's going to be in demand, mate. In the next 12 months, some big club is not going to want to miss out on him. Some big club's going to push the button.
How could it go wrong? It may be that the club's recruitment is the most important thing, the biggest reason why they're silky. And he goes somewhere else, he can't do it the same way. That might happen, I suppose. Maybe other clubs want to see a bit more evidence that he can do it on another season as well, and that's all understandable. But the way that they play the game, and to Man United side that play great football too.
Want to get on the ball and do it. Yeah, they had to be second best, didn't they? Sit back and say you have the ball. Yeah, I thought the Mitoma Wan-Bissaka was a great little match up to the game, wasn't it? Wan-Bissaka's very smart. Jody around the one side, didn't he?
Brilliant defender like that. I mean, he just is.
And he's wriggling in Mitoma. He wriggles in and out. Yeah. And Cissokho just showed moments, and he's a young kid playing in an important role in the team, but he just shows moments of next level. He's
19. Buonanotte's 18, Rob. He played on the right-hand side. Had a few moments again.
Yeah. I think you wanted to talk as well. I don't know if you did, or this was the Alistair McAllister is being rumoured to Liverpool, my friend. And they're talking about James Milner going in the opposite direction, actually. Well, that's maybe part of the move. That was leaked out today.
That's what I mean about the. I mean, in terms of a midfield, I thought he was brilliant today, Rob. I think he's a special player. He's 24. He's a great age. He's experienced. He's just done it with Argentina.
He's Trossard-esque in that he can go to that big club and hold his own, can't he? You
he's
feel
a special player because he's good on the ball. Because he's good on the ball. He keeps the ball. He makes good decisions. He's got a great touch. He would be perfect for any club in the Premier League. If Liverpool can get to him first, then well done. And off you go. Go and do it. Make it happen. Spend the money. Because he's as close to a guaranteed successful midfield player I think you could get. Because he's used to the league, he's used to what it's all about, and the manager and Klopp would get more out of him possibly. But I thought he was great today. His penalty is brilliant. He just pulls it right into the top corner. Yeah. Alexis McAllister was special among other players, but he today particularly impressed me. And the stories about Liverpool being in for him is why not? And if they can get him amongst others, I know Chelsea are interested, Rob, as well. I saw today. Chelsea, and I think it's one other club interested.
Of course, Chelsea are interested, my friend. Of course they are. But it'd be great. It'd be a great one for Liverpool, and especially of the way they want to play and bring Trent into midfield, a midfield player with creativity.
McAllister could go forward then, Rob, couldn't he?
Yeah.
If you got Fabinho, if it is Fabinho with Trent, then he goes and does the high number 8. It'd be perfect for him, yeah.
Okay, my friend. There's so much to enjoy about the Premier League. So many stories at the top and the bottom. I always feel the Premier League's missing somebody.
Oh, gosh.
And then he was back.
Oh, no.
The big man, Sam Allardyce, replaces Javi Gracia as head coach at Leeds. I didn't realise, Rob, actually, that Gracia was told on Monday that he was being sacked. He was being let go, and it was actually his birthday on Monday. Yeah, I saw a video, Rob, of Gracia, and he looked better than I've seen him look in the last few weeks. He seemed reasonably happy that he's okay. He's lost a job. Him and his kids are going to be wearing Leeds uniforms, so kit till the end of the season. That he's all in for Leeds, and he wishes him all the best. And I actually feel, Rob, as though it's a relief for him. He looked broken. He looked like a man who it was too much for. We saw him on camera a few times, and I actually feel like his life probably is feeling better now. That he's not. It's not happening around him, and he's not the man. Hopefully, if they do go down, that takes Leeds down.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Rob, that he looked a little bit broken, and you just said there that maybe the job was too big for him. I'll tell you, it's not too big for. It's not too big for Big Sam Allardyce. We got to roll the interview, and he was asked about kind of managers now that get a little bit overlooked. Here's his interesting response.
Too many people think that I am old and antiquated, which is so far from the truth. I might be 68 and look old, but there's nobody ahead of me in football terms. Not Pep, not Klopp, not Arteta. So it's all there with me, and I share it with them. They do what they do. I do what I do. But in terms of knowledge and depth of knowledge, I'm up there with them. I'm not saying I'm better than them, but certainly as good as they are.
I'll be honest, you laughed out loud when we heard that in the studio. You said it, and I think it was important to say that it's not mocking or it's not demeaning. It's just the brave, confident, kind of all in. Sam Allardyce. Let me start you off, and I didn't, I love a big Sam, and I love the story, and I love the romance of Cuddy and Canny and all the things, Rob. But the other thing, I'll tell you the other thing which he's done purposely, and he absolutely 1,000,000% knows what he's done. He's give the papers and everybody like us something to talk about that takes it away from the players and Leeds and what's happening in the form and everything. He's just said, I'm Big Sam, I'm back, I'm as good as Pep and Klopp and Arteta and all the rest of them, and I'm not antiquated. And he's given headlines, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Because then I've seen him, Rob, on the training ground, and I've seen the other side of Sam, where he's working with the players, and he'll be doing the old routines that I talked about, the rope between the back four to get your distances and places. The boards on the perimeter advertising. We get to Barclays and we hold at Barclays, and we go back to EA Sport, which is a board behind, and we never go back to Geico because Geico's too deep. And he'll have positions that, honestly, as players, if you're not sure where you're going to be, if you're unsure of where you push up, you've got it in your mind. All little reminders that are Sam's ways. But the biggest thing I saw, Robert, during the training was he was laughing and joking with the players. He was being Sam. He was connecting. He was lightening the mood. He was taking some of the gloom and the frustrations, and I can imagine what's going on in that Leeds dressing room where it's getting from bad to worse. That's what Sam brings. That's where Sam has a chance, and that's where he's saying that Pep might have the formulas and the way of playing systems. He's got his little kind of Sam button that he can push that gets players doing it for him in his way.
No, and he's done it. He's done it in many clubs, so he's improved them. We showed a graphic on our air the other day where they might have been 17th to 15th or 19th to 17th. Just enough to get them out of it. All I would say to all of that, Rob, and I absolutely respect what he's done and what he could do. It's a very short period of time, but more importantly, who the heck is he going to play defensively? Because I don't see enough defenders. He's going to have to play with a back five. He'll
Maybe
put
five,
like four in front.
Holding one in
Maybe a
front,
big
yeah.
Pascal script. Any fit defender right now, Max Verber, I believe, is okay now. Again.
Yeah. If he's fit,
anybody back there, he's going to want to bring in. And
he'll get somebody in front of him as well who's doing a better job than either McKennie or Rocker, by the way. He'll also get some. Well, he might play a centre back in there.
Well, they ain't got many centre backs. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where he's going to. He's got to really find. Maybe there's a young lad. He's got to find some defensively strong, sturdy guys that can listen to instruction.
Let me ask you the bigger question then, because I think he will do something, and I think he'll have work. But there's not that much work you can do between now and Saturday, and there's not many things you can change. You can a couple of little bits and pieces of mentality, which is I think is where he's going to go. But just in terms of Rob, where they were, are they better off now than they were?
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's my point. Yeah. There's a better chance of them staying up than there was.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't disagree with the firing and the appointment. I didn't disagree with it. I think it is a better chance now. Yeah. And reason being as well is that maybe the difficult bits, they've got the quick counter-attacking guys, Rob.
They can score,
They can absolutely score. So it's just getting the other side of it, and he will drill, he will play deep, but he will allow Sinistera or Gnotto or wherever it is, or Jack Harrison particularly. He might play Jack back as a wing back. I don't know, but he's got players who can spring. Rodrigo, they can score. But he's just got to keep it's just the game's hard. The game's really.
You know what? I looked at the game. So it's Man City away the weekend. It's home to Newcastle. It's away at West Ham, and then it's at home to Spurs. Last game, Robbie Mustoe. And you know what I'm thinking? If you could give Sam home to Spurs, we need to win to stay up. You'd take your arm off tomorrow, and by the way, they'd have a chance of beating Spurs last day of the season.
They would, but he's got to get
Ellen Road with that place buzzing. If he can somehow get them to the last day with a chance to win to stay up, there's your money. There's where Big Sam earns his £2.5, £3 million or whatever, $4-5 million.
Get that situation to win and stay up. They're going to have to find other points.
Yeah, somewhere.
That's where they got to find a way.
Between Man City, Newcastle, West Ham. West Ham away is somewhere where he can go and win. And they've got to maybe pick a draw up.
He gets a point there.
Else.
If he loses the first two, gets a point there and wins the last, that's 34 points. I believe that their goal difference is a bit better than,
because they scored goals, haven't they? Yeah.
So that could be the way that they scrape that they stay in the Premier League. But it's going to be fascinating. Of a season that's been so dramatic and so many different managers. I mean, it wouldn't be the same without Big Sam at the end, and it's going to be a fun ride.
Absolutely, always a fun ride, Big Sam. Listen, mate, we're going to wrap it up on a midweek that saw Arsenal go to the top table on Tuesday, only for Man City to grab top spot back on Wednesday on an historic night in Manchester when Erling Haaland became the Premier League's record goal scorer in a single season with an incredible 35 Premier League goals. And counting. We'll be back after Charles' coronation. That's on Sunday the 7th, when we'll look back at matchweek 35 and see if King Sam can back up his big statements and grab 3 big points against Manchester City. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.